the charisma, the power, the credibility to explain these matters to the lower classes, and they are now, they fell back to their own possibilities to interpret what is going on in politics, and this works again against the lower classes and in favor of the higher classes. I skipped this and I make only one argument out of it. You have the old liberal argument from Tocqueville to Friedrich August von Hayek that equality and freedom, there is a trade-off. We did a kind of empirical research of 55 countries or 60 countries, and you see a perfect regression line, which means that equality and freedom, they support each other. There is, from an empirical point of view, no trade-off whatsoever. So this is, to a large extent, a liberal myth which can be falsified by empirical research. One point, this is certainly something I should not show to you because you can probably not read it. These are countries, and here you have the quality of democracy index. There are quite a few different ones, and here you have the degree of social justice. The message is simply the higher the social justice is, measured by many indicators, the higher democratic quality is as well. And here you have the Scandinavian countries. We expected Italy is in the lower half of it. Again, here is a clear positive correlation between social justice measured quite in a complex manner and the quality of democracy. Economic competition is not all, and I think many things which are going on today we cannot explain by socio-economic inequality alone. And what I see, there is a new cleavage coming up in the industrial or post-industrial world, and this cleavage explains to some extent the new rules of electoral competition, and it explains why right-wing populists having such a success. And the cleavage I term here is between cosmopolitans versus communitarians. Which are these cosmopolitans? Which are the communitarians? Cosmopolitans are clearly the winners of globalization. They are coming from the higher classes, urban middle class. They are, and this is a crucial question, they are for open borders. Open borders in a very encompassing way. They are for open borders for trade, for financial services, for capital, for workers, but also for refugees and for sovereignty rights of the nation states. So they can be given up to supranational regimes like the European Union. They are in favor of a deepening of the European integration. They are also in favor of pro-immigration, rather liberal pro-immigration, of multiculturalism. They can live in Berlin, in New York, in Zurich, or Rome. They have the human and social capital. Craig Calhoun, a sociologist from UK, has called them the frequent flyers of our society. And the point is, they come up with in former times you would have said, with a clear class consciousness. And this is these openness. the openness beyond the nation state, and the wish being governed beyond the nation state. And certainly they have very good normative arguments, at least if it comes to multicultural rights and so forth. However, what I think is what we are seeing is they have a kind of hubris in the political debates. The moment where you bring up arguments, it may be more rational, and it would follow in terms of Max Weber a Verantwortungsethik, ethic of responsibility, then we may also close the borders. The same moment in certain circles you are immediately accused being a racist, and xenophobic, and so forth. So this morality, bringing morale into politics and thereby excluding the others as morally inferior, it's one of the problems of the debate which feeds the camp of right-wing populists. The communitarians, okay, this is classical and ideal, typical construction, and if you listening to me, you will see such a cleavage runs through your own identity, your own personality. You will find some of the values of the one side on the other side. However, it structures now more and more the electoral competition, as I have said. They are the losers of globalization. They are clearly the lower educated people. They need the nation state. They need local neighborhoods where they can rely on. They do not have the human capital which can easily transfer from one sphere to the other or from one country to the others. They are in favor of controlling borders. They are very critical towards a deepening of the and widening of the European integration. They are sometimes they have a preference for more homogeneous communities. And these communitarians come up in two versions. There is clearly one, a chauvinist, nationalist one, and very often xenophobic as well. On the other side, if you are familiar with the history of social democracy, in the 1930s and 1940s and 50s in Scandinavia, they coined the term Volkshemmet, people's home. It's a highly solidaristic, equal society which closes the borders. And if you look to Scandinavia, Denmark today comes pretty close to such a version. So if you want to have it in different words, there is a problematic, normatively spoken, nasty nationalist version, but there is also one which can be solidaristic, and it relies on certain preconditions. This is what we know from empirical research. This is what you can see. This is only an average from Europe, where you have an increase of right-wing populist parties in Eastern Europe, even stronger, and in Western Europe there is a continuous increase. And if I would have the figures now at the beginning of the 1918, it would have increased even more, and your elections in Italy were the last sign of this right-wing populist, even Cinque Stelle. We don't know exactly what kind of populism it is. Let me come to the last two slides. Right-wing populism is normatively highly problematic in many of its positions.